Hi everyone, today we're going to be looking at the C-More EA9 HMI series panel object list buttons. Now last time we have up on my screen here our C-More software, programming software, and we did our object shapes. Now we will add buttons to from our object list here. So detailed information contained in the video can be found at accautomation.ca. A link has been put in the description below. If you have not watched the other videos yet, there will be links in the description below to start you at video 1. There will be links to the rest of the videos in the series as well. So the first thing we'll do is actually add another page to our screen. We can do this right up here, and we'll call this screen number 4, or will be screen number 4. Our screen name will actually be Object Buttons. And we'll just hit OK. And what you'll notice is that now our screen is showing up here. Now our common menu, we'll just turn that our edit mode on, our property list, and we'll go down here to show background, and we will select our background screen as our common screen. So now our switches now appear. Now we'll turn off our edit mode here just to lock that in and make sure we don't accidentally change it. Now under the menu mode we have our screen select. And on the screen select, if we go back to our common screen menu and hit our screen selection, we'll go to our screen and make sure that we add our object buttons, screen number 4, to our available screens that we can select. So we're just going to add that over here. There we go. And then we'll hit OK. So now that we have that done, we'll go back to our object buttons here. And what you'll notice under the object list, we have several different buttons. In fact, we have 7 of them. So let's look at the push button one. And as we hit the push button one, you'll notice that underneath here our parts lists appear. We can take any of these parts that are predetermined for us and programmed for us and put them onto our screen itself. So in this case here, we want a push button. Let's take sample number 2, and we will click and drag that onto our screen, and then we have our push button window appear. And what we will do is we'll leave everything more or less the same here, and let's change the background color to our on state to say green, and we can look at what that looks like under our simulation here. If we turn it on, that's what it's going to look like, and then off again, so it looks pretty good. And then we'll look at our tag name. So let's just look, we'll click here to get called the database. And under the database, I have already programmed in a push button, which I call it MC10. So if we actually look at that, it actually goes to a Modbus address of memory type 0, address 10. So in our Do More simulator, which we're going to be using, the data memories come from different areas within the Do More software, and they're predetermined for us. So let's close that, and we'll hit OK to bring that MC10 push button back. And down here, it'll ask me, how do you want your push button to actually operate? We have a toggle, which will turn it on when we hit it, and then turn it off again. We have a momentary on, and we have a momentary off, meaning if I hit the button, it will turn on momentarily as long as my finger is on that button, or we turn off so the button is actually on until I hit it, and then it turns off. Then we have a set on, so we actually keep it on, and we have a set off. So in this case here, let's try the momentary on. So then next we have an option, and under the option we can choose the visibility as we did in our objects or our shapes before. We can have some beeps or different sounding beeps from the library, for example. And then we have a press delay. So here, if we have a press delay, we can actually ensure that the operator meant to hit that button on our screen by selecting this. So in this case here we have an on delay. So that'll mean that you have to have your finger on the push button in the default here, which is 0.5 seconds before it actually indicates that it actually is on. Then under password, we have different passwords that we can set up for this push button. So that's all of our settings. If we hit OK, now we can position this onto our screen. So let's just position this up here, and we'll probably make it a little bigger. That doesn't look too bad, so we'll leave it just like that. So that is our push button. Next, if we take a look at the switch, and again we will grab from our parts list here the default switch right here, and we'll put this onto our screen, and our switch window now comes up, and you'll see under the general options, and we'll leave everything as default. Then what we'll do is we will look at the tag name, and again we'll call up our tag name here, and we have a switch toggle which is MC11, and we'll hit this OK, and that brings it back. And under again the option, we have visibility, the sound, and the press as well. And then we have passwords, just as we did before. And you can see here the object, we can actually select different styles of this switch. Whatever one will best match your what you're trying to achieve on your screen and the look and feel. So we'll just hit OK, and we'll position this on our screen, something like that, and that looks pretty good there. So that is our switch. Next comes our radio button, and under the radio button we'll just use the default here. We'll drag this up, and what we'll do is again we have different options. We can set colors, etc. We can set different text for each one, and we can also set blinking, etc. So there's lots of different options that we can do for shape, size, colors, fonts, and they're all available to us here. And then we have the number of buttons. We can actually set the number of buttons that we want. In this case here, we'll leave it as default 3. And then we have a tag assignment, and our tag assignment is set by a word or set by discrete tags. So in our case here, we're going to set by discrete tags. If we set it by a word, it'll actually tell us a value in that word that represents what's currently on. So let's do it by tags, and now automatically you see that our tag settings come up and representing with the buttons, and here's my 3 buttons. So let's just fill them in, and you'll see radio button 1, I said OK, radio button 2, and radio button 3. And the thing with radio buttons is that if only one of the radio buttons will be on at any given time. So as I hit 2, 1 will come off. If I hit 3, 2 will come off. If 2's on, I hit 1 again, then 1 comes on, 2 goes off. So that's the operation. So if we look at our options, again we still have the same sound and press delay, and our passwords if we set passwords. Again, we'll hit OK, and then we'll reposition this onto our screen. There we go, and that looks pretty good. So next we have an indicator button. Now the indicator button actually acts as both a button and a switch. So if we go down here, we'll take the green 1 sample, and we'll bring this up onto our screen, and now our indicator button comes onto their screen. And what you'll see here is we can simulate it on and off. That looks pretty good. Again, under the options, visibility, sound, press delays, our passwords. So under here, our push button tag name, what we'll do is we will select our indicator button. Then under our indicating light itself, we're going to actually select the same indicator button. It comes from the read-write area of the Modbus. So there we go. Indicator button. Hit OK. And then in this case here, we're going to actually do a toggle and keep it on the toggle. So as I hit it, it will turn on and the light will come on. Hit it again, the light, it goes off and the light will come off. So again, we can simulate this. So our actual program, we can actually have different bits to control the indication light on this switch. So if you hit OK, then we can position this onto our screen. A little bigger. There we go. And that looks pretty good. So now we have our step switch. Now our step switch, what we'll do is take a look at our default and drag it onto our screen. Again, very similar. We have 4 different tags here for our select switch, and we have our object styles that we can select. So let's select our step switch number 1. OK. And these tags I predetermined prior. And switch number 4. So again, we can simulate this on for switch number 1. We can go to switch number 2 and put it on. You'll notice the step switch number 1 goes off. Number 3, number 4, and then we go back to number 1. So you see only one's on at a time. So it mimics the step switch that used to step on, and it used to cycle through different units or different outputs. Again, options similar. You still have the press delay in case you have some false triggering from the operator. You have our passwords, and then back to our general. So we'll hit OK. And again, we'll reposition this and size it. So that looks pretty good there. And next we have our tri-state switch. So let's drag style number 4 up to our screen here, and we have our tri-state switch window. And under here we have our 3 different buttons that we have, and you'll notice that we also have our tag buttons right here. So our buttons for our tags represent button number 2 and button number 3. And in our program, it determines which button is pressed, determines what output we're actually going to fire or turn on. So here we have simulate 1, 2, 3, and we go back to 1. So 1 represents both of these off. So it's a little bit of logic in our PLC that we'll look at. So let's set these buttons. Switch number 1 and tri-state switch 2. There we go. Again, under the options we have our beeps, our press delays, and our visibility, and under passwords we can set up our passwords. We'll hit OK, and again we can reposition these buttons, and we'll make them a little wider here. There we go. So there's our tri-state buttons all set. And then lastly we have our key button. Now our key button usually is not made on regular screens, but we can put one on here for us. And you'll see that our general, we have different sizes, our text and color. We can set what the system key will be, or control key code. We'll just leave it at enter. And again, we can hit notification when to the PLC when something gets hit. We have under options, we have visibility. So if we hit OK, then you'll see our key switch, and we position that onto our screen. Now the main thing that we use for key switches and these kind of switches is to create customized keypads. So if you look at our database, you'll see a defined keypad, and we can actually start and define a new screen keypad. You'll notice that this comes up on our regular screen here. So there's our regular screens and our keypads. So if we wanted to, we could actually customize this. This is the default one, but we can create a new one and download this to our controller. So very user-friendly and customizable. So let's go back to our screen. So that is our screen complete, and we can just save that. We can then simulate this, and we have a T10CL to start. And there is our simulation. We can make it look like more like the T10 itself by enabling the bezel around it. So there's my bezel, and you can see that as I touch on the screen, you can go to Object, and there's all my different objects, and here's all of my different push buttons that I've programmed in here. So what you'll see is if I hit the push button, that value turns on and off. Just like that. There's my selector switch. It goes on. I can see it on. And then off. Okay. So then I have my radial buttons. Then we have our indication light, our step for our 4. Then we have our try buttons, and then our key button. So again, we can simulate our project. Let's exit out of that now. And we do have it connected currently right now to our hardware. So here is our C-More. It's a T10, as we just talked about. And what we can do is actually send this program down to the C-More itself. So we'll just hit send. And we'll use our Ethernet, and we'll hit transfer. So it'll transfer this program down, and then we'll start. We can then use and try to test our program to make sure everything's functioning as it should. Hit OK, and we'll close this down. So now we have it programmed into our C-More itself. So we're finished with our programming software now, and we'll call up our Do More simulator and our Do More designer. And here we have our object buttons, and the first one is our push button. So if we were to hit that push button, so the first thing we'll do is actually select the screen. So select screen, we'll go object buttons, and there we go. And you'll see as I hit my push button, the corresponding ladder logic, you will see that coming on and off right here. So next is our switch, and our switch is MC11, and we will turn that on, and you'll see that turn on. We can then toggle it, turn it off again, and it goes off. Our radial buttons are the next 3. And what you'll see is radio 1, 2, and 3. So right now 1 is on, 2, 3, 2, 1, 3. So it doesn't matter. Every time I hit one of them, only one will appear on my radio. Then we have our indicating button. And indication and the light are one of the same. So what we'll do is just hit that indication, turns on and off. So everything seems to be working just fine. Then we have our step switch. So our step switch actually has 4 outputs. There's steps number 1, 2, 3, and there's switch number 4. I hit it again, it goes back to 1. So just as we thought it would operate. Then we have our try switch, and on our try switch again we have 3 outputs, and we said right here if both outputs are off then the actual output's on, and we've used the C memory area of the Do More simulator to indicate whether those switches are on or off. So if I hit button number 2, then 2 comes on, and then button number 3, and output 3 comes on. Let's go back to button number 1. So that's the simulator. Now we can also look at this through our the actual simulator panel that we have right here on our Do-More simulator. And again, I've indicated the C buttons up to C12. And what you'll notice is that when I hit my push button, C0 comes on. That's C1. Our our radial buttons, there's 2, 3. Then our indicating button is 5, C5, C6, 7, 8, 9 represent my foot switch. So as I hit that foot switch, it will cycle through each of those buttons. Then my try button, since button number 1 is on, we have C10, C11, C12. So very easy to program and very graphical in our screen display. So if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button below. If you have any questions about the video, please leave a comment below and I'll do my best to answer it. If you want more information about us or you want to get our 2 free ebooks on numbering systems or robust data logging, please click on the link below in the description to get it. A new video is put out every Monday, so make sure you hit the subscribe button so you get more videos like this in the future. Remember to click the bell beside your subscription. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.